A brief history of the fishing reel. We take reels for granted nowadays, but they have only become a standard feature in anglers' kits relatively recently. And even now, their use isn't entirely universal. A reel is there to store line and to help play the fish, but using one isn't absolutely necessary. As anyone who has read Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea will know, you can catch the largest fish that swim with nothing more sophisticated than a hand line, as long as you are patient and have plenty of sea room. So for thousands of years, anglers did without reels and didn't find it much of an inconvenience. The Chinese probably invented the first fishing reel around 300 AD or 400, but until the 17th century, the only evidence that anglers used them was in art, when a professional fisherman called Barker let it slip that a winder was used for playing larger fish. Until then, anglers either used a horsehair line that fixed to a rod tip, or more rarely a running line fed through a loop at the top tip. By the late 18th century, anglers were using wide spool, narrow arbored brass winches, which were made all over the country by jewelers, clockmakers, and jobbing craftsmen. They were attached with three different methods: a spike, a circular clamp, or a foot. Like a modern reel, they can be further divided into direct drive reels and early multipliers. Multipliers were among the first angling gadgets. Many fishermen bought them, and because they allowed a much faster retrieve, sooner or later playing a large fish would grind the teeth off the short brass gears because the metallurgy wasn't up to it. All early reels had one thing in common, which was that they had narrow spindles. As you can see in the illustration of the spike foot reel above, this was one of the reasons why fishermen persisted with multipliers. Once a fish had run most of the line off the reel like this, you are left at a huge mechanical disadvantage. The obvious solution is to increase the diameter of the spindle or arbor. It is amazing to think of it. This leap of imagination took place only 150 years ago, though it took another century before the concept made its mark on the fly fishing reel. Until the mid and 19th centuries, anglers used the same reel for everything they did, whether it was floating fish, trolling, or fly fishing, but then a gradual specialization began to occur. This is the time when the descriptions fly and coarse fishermen began to use by anglers.